So especially when you're first starting out, plant-based can seem really time-consuming and overwhelming, especially when it comes to cooking. So in this video, I want to share with you 5 really simple ways that you can make cooking easy for a plant-based diet. Now keep in mind, all the strategies that I'm going to share with you are beginner friendly, and it doesn't matter where you live or how many alternatives you have around you. All of these strategies will work for you. So if you're looking to make cooking easy, the first thing that you want to do is make sure that you're making a menu each and every week. This is a step that is so simple, yet most people choose to skip it and actually make cooking a lot more difficult and time consuming than it needs to be. When you're making a menu, essentially you're just creating a plan for yourself each and every time you go in the kitchen, so you know exactly what you're going to cook, what ingredients you need, and making sure that you have those ingredients on hand. This is something that helps make the cooking process a lot easier, so you're not scrambling around the kitchen trying to substitute ingredients, trying to figure out if you have what you need for a recipe, or trying to kind of make something on the fly. Really, making a menu is something that is so simple that it just makes the process so much easier. And when you're menu planning for the week, you want to make sure that you're not picking overly complicated recipes. So this is a mistake that I see a lot of beginners make, is that they tend to pick recipes that have a ton of ingredients, a lot of prep work, and just is overall time consuming. And that makes cooking, and honestly plant-based, a whole lot more complicated than it needs to be. So instead, what you want to do is use what I like to call the simple recipe. So you want to be looking for recipes that have less than 10 ingredients, not including spices, generally ingredients that you're comfortable with, that are easy to find, and less than 90 minutes of active cook time. This is a really simple guideline for you to create recipes that are not only great tasting, but are not going to be time consuming and actually make cooking a whole lot simpler. And it's going to make plant-based a whole lot easier, especially if you're first starting out. So my third tip for making cooking easy is to actually set aside time to cook. Now this is something that might seem overly simplistic, but it's something that actually a lot of people don't do. What happens a lot of the times is that people get caught up, life happens, and cooking becomes an afterthought. And usually it's something that's either considered to be too time consuming, or they just wind up throwing something together. And if you want to make cooking easy consistently, a really great habit to develop is to just set aside some time whenever you want to make your meals. It doesn't have to be a lot of time, but just something that you can do consistently, so that way you're focused on making your food at that point. And I'm going to show you how to maximize this with batch cooking in just a minute. But really, just having this one simple habit does make cooking a whole lot easier. So my fourth tip is to make sure that you're using cooking hacks to your advantage. So there are a ton of hacks out there, and there are some that will save you a few minutes here, a few minutes there, and then there are some that will save you some serious time. So this is really going to depend on what ingredients you're using consistently, but there's generally a way to do things a lot quicker out there. So one example is, my favorite hack is cooking dried beans in about 20 minutes rather than hot soaking them or cold soaking them overnight. It is really something that is so much more effective, and it comes out just the same. So really, when it comes to cooking hacks, you want to look at ingredients that you're using consistently and seeing if there's a quicker, easier way to either prep it or to make it in a dish. And my fifth and final tip for making cooking easy is to batch cook. So batch cooking is really similar to meal prepping, where you're making a set amount of meals in advance for the week. So ideally you set aside 1 or 2 hours on a single day and you cook for the entire week. So it definitely makes cooking a whole lot easier and less time consuming. And if you're worried that you have to cook all the meals in advance, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner ready to go. That's absolutely not the case. You can pick and choose what you want to make and what's going to work for you. So if you have a particular meal that you struggle with, whether that's breakfast, making sure that you have a healthy lunch, or just getting dinner ready to go, whatever it is for you, that's exactly what you should start with so you don't overwhelm and overcomplicate it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you get notified whenever I put out a new video. And if you're looking to make plant-based a whole lot easier, you can download my guide, the 5-step method to making plant-based easy without spending hours cooking. You can find a link to that in the description and in the comments below, and I will see you next time.